Good afternoon and good evening. So this is Grandmaster RB Ramesh for Coaches Training, and today we will be analyzing some of the training games which was played 2 days ago. And at Coaches Training, we have been giving training questions to our players regularly, weekly twice, and, and the players are playing these training games with other players who have a similar rating like themselves. As a result, they get to play in many interesting positions. Some of them are complex positions, some of them are very positional, some of them are interesting endgame positions, and so on. So this way, they get to play with other reasonably good players in interesting positions and improve their vertical and tactical development. Now, let us go to the first position for the day. Okay, so in this position, black, the pawn on d5 was under attack and the black pawn was on e7. Now, normally we would have played c4 or e6 as black to defend the d5 pawn. But what black did was he sacrificed the d5 pawn and played e5. Now, what can we learn from this? It is that when opponent king is in the center and you have already castle, so you have to take chances, some risks to convert your temporary advantage. So black's temporary advantage is that currently the white king is still in the center. And had he played a move like e6, then white would have castled comfortably and he would be fine. But by playing e5, now the position becomes very dynamic, very complex, and it is risky for both sides. Now, in such positions, it is very important that we do not take intuitive decisions immediately. Instead, we should try to calculate as properly as possible. And for this, it is very important we have good calculation skills. This is very important. And to develop calculation skills, there are multiple ways possible. One is by solving puzzles on a regular basis. And this, if we cultivate from our very young age, then usually our calculation skills will keep growing with time. But what I have seen in practice is that most players, they don't do this. They don't solve puzzles on a daily basis. Sorry. Or they solve puzzles, but they don't do it properly. Now, what do I mean by properly? First requirement is we should not move the pieces while solving the puzzle. This is very important because when you play in a tournament and you get, let us say, some position like this, and it's very complex, you cannot make moves and analyze, right? So we will be forced to analyze without taking moves. We cannot write the notation also. So some coaches, they suggest or even advise or recommend while solving to write the annotation in a book. And that way it is like you are committed. Like whatever you write is the final answer and you cannot change it. Now you write your solution and then you check the solution from the book. Now, if they are not matching in some places, you cannot escape. It will be very clear that you missed something or you went wrong somewhere. But if you don't write the moves while solving, then what can happen is we see some lines not very thoroughly and we might have missed some details. And then we think or we have convinced ourselves that we have got the answer. And when we check the solution with the book, then we will see that some variations or some moves, both for white or black, we might have missed. And then we will simply convince ourselves that, oh, I have seen this also. Oh, this is very easy. If I had spent 2-3 more seconds, I would have seen this line also. So this way, we can convince ourselves that we have seen everything when we have not, or we would have seen it. It's not very difficult. So to avoid this kind of mistake, some coaches recommend us to write down the moves in the book. So that way, like whatever you have written only, you have seen. So you cannot claim later that, oh, I would have seen this or I had seen this, but I forgot. Okay. But maybe initially, when your visualization skills are not that good and you're struggling, it makes sense to write the solution and check. But for a period of time, what I would recommend is to keep the training as close to tournament situation as possible. So in the tournament, we don't write moves or move pieces on the board. So in the training also, we should try to do something simple. Okay. So now e5 has been played and the bishop on f4 is under attack. So how should white respond to this? Now, what we can do here is we can take d e5. This is a very simple and obvious way to save our bishop. But the problem is he takes with a knight, and the problem of d5 is solved, right? And so when you castle, black already has a very comfortable position. Now he does not have to develop the bishop here because both the knight and the pawn will be blocking the bishop diagonal. So instead of bishop d7, maybe you could develop the bishop in other active diagonals. Okay. So you can see that already black's position is very easy to play. So d5, white should play if he is happy with equality. But if white wants to play for advantage, then it is obvious that the most critical move will be to play. Suggest in the chat here. Okay, so I have a question among the audience. When you mention about puzzles, you refer both tactical or strategic puzzles. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Thing is, the whole point of preparation at home or attending classes with coaches is to basically improve our analytical skills, basically to improve our chess strength, right? When we play in tournament games, we want to play good quality chess with as less mistakes as possible. And for that, the most important requirement or the basic requirement is good analytical skills. So if we want to become a good player, we should not try to become a good player by increasing our rating. This is what most players do. And what they do, they say like my chess.com rating is this, my Lichess rating is this, and they feel happy about it. But what I would suggest is instead of focusing too much on this online websites rating, because most of it will be in blitz or bullet time control, which does not really reflect players' analytical skills in longer time control. So ideally, for players in the US, USCF, or for other players, PDA rating will give a generally correct picture of the player's strength. So, so what happens is most players we try to focus on improving our rating, and when our rating increases, we think we are getting better. So, for example, if I beat one stronger player, immediately I gain some 7 8 points, and then I feel like I'm getting better. I'm not saying this is incorrect, but this should not be the aim for preparation. We just beat players, and after that, our rating is going up, and then based on rating, we judge ourselves. If we do this, what can happen is when we lose games and our rating goes down, or when we draw with lower rated players, then our rating goes down. It can really put off our confidence in ourselves because our rating is going down. Okay, so we will be simply reflecting to whether our rating is going up or going down. Accordingly, our confidence will also go up and down as per our rating. Okay, and To be a strong player, it is very important that we have good self-confidence. Now, one of the common features with all strong players is that they really believe that they are good. Okay, they are very sure that I'm a strong player, I'm a good player. Now, this kind of confidence will not be shaken easily with one game result. So, if I win today, or draw today, or lose today, it won't go down so much. But for example, if some player defeats Magnus Carlsen, obviously, even if he is higher rated, his confidence will go up phenomenally, right? I'm not talking about those exceptional circumstances, but in general, the stronger players, they know they are strong, they know they are good. So their confidence will always be at a very high level. It won't drop down drastically because of one bad tournament or one bad game. It will go down a bit, but not too much because they have the strength, and that strength gives them the confidence. Okay. Now, if our confidence is relying upon our rating or individual game results, then it will keep going up and down, fluctuating. Okay. So that is why I would strongly recommend not to assess your own chess strength based on your rating that is fluctuating game after game. Now, if you compare your rating, okay, in January I was having this much rating, in June I have this much rating, over a 6 month period or so, then it makes sense because over a period of 6 months you have been playing many tournaments, and generally it will give you a rough idea about your current strength, where you are. But if you focus too much on game to game fluctuations, today I win, it goes up, tomorrow I lose, it goes down. So I become a good player, bad player, good player, bad player. Then we will be completely confused. Whether I am good or not, we won't know. Right? So our focus should be to improve our chess strength. And if your preparation increases your chess strength, then that will give you confidence. Okay, so basically the improvement we make as a result of our own hard work. Okay, we work hard, and as a result, our strength increases. It means we are able to find good moves while analyzing positions. We are able to calculate well, we are able to visualize well, we are able to play positionally well, we are playing end games well, and so on. Then our confidence will be very good. Okay, so if your analytical skills improve, your whole chess strength will improve. And when your chest strength improves, your confidence will be high, and that is not easily affected by the individual game results or individual rating fluctuations after every game. Okay, so now the critical continuation is not pawn into pawn, because after pawn into pawn, then he can easily that can easily equalize. We have seen already. So the critical continuation is obviously queen takes d5. Okay, now the c6 knight is hanging. Now black has two continuations. One, he can take the bishop and enter the complications, or we can continue with rapid development with bishop d7, protecting the knight, and then you are threatening to take ef4. Okay, so let's analyze bb7 first. And here this is hanging. Take this. Now there are some interesting continuations. Now let's say we place knight e5. Queen is here we take. Now black has sacrificed a pawn temporarily, but as you can see, his pieces are trying to become very active. But if you see little closely, the bishop g7 is not very active because the pawns b2 and c3 kinds of cramps the bishop diagonal. Okay, so here we can go castle. Now once I come this check will not be available. And if we do this, knight c4, threatening knight d6, and the rook is hanging. Okay, so here white keeps the extra pawn alive, and he is better. So this variation unfortunately does not work. Now for DE5, instead of knight D5, he can consider knight D4. Okay, this is another interesting observation. But the problem with this approach is the knight is stuck in the corner, but he's telling the king is stuck in the center, so I will get something. But here we can do E6. Basically, our pieces need targets to attack for white. So temporarily he sacrifices the pawn, and now the knight cannot come out. The square is also very well controlled because we cannot rely only on knight d2 because of this indirection. Okay, and now if you do this, so basically I cleared this square e2 so that I can capture the knight. And now if you come knight c2, anyway it is trapped. So once I capture the knight, it will be 2 pieces for rook and white will be completely better. So this does not work. So for this reason, after queen d5, bishop b7 is not good enough. So black has to capture ef4. Now we are forced to do this. Now the rook is under attack. Now if we move the rook, then he can play e4 and keep the center closed. Next move, he will castle and escape. So black continues the risk-taking approach. Now white has two options. One, you can take fe3. Two, you can take queen a8. Now if you become greedy to become an exchange up, the problem is the queen goes to the corner temporarily. And now you can even play rook e8, stopping castle. Okay, so here black has fantastic compensation. Next move we are going to take cd4. You can also consider taking cd4 to take all this. If cd4, then bishop d4, castle, queen c7, which defends the pawn, and we are threatening like this. Okay, so here we have good compensation for the exchange, but probably rook e8 is better. Okay, so for fe3, queen a8, black gets good compensation for the exchange. So we should not become greedy. We should take fe3. Now queen is attacked, so we play rook b8. Now we are threatening bb7 or queen e7, go after the pawn. So white should realize that he has kept the king in the center for long. The first opportunity he should castle. Now if bb7, we have queen d6. Okay, so knight f6 was played, and here white has to be very accurate. So we play rook a1, the last piece into the game, and this can help in advancing the pawn. Now if bb7, we have queen b5. This queen is not getting trapped. So pawn attack. Now bd3. So we are fighting for this. We want to push e4. So it does not give time, only square. Now we still want to push e4. And once you get e4, d5, something like this, then the bishop b7 will not be very active. And rook behind the pawns, white will be having some advantage. So he increases some pressure here. Now if e4, then now you can see both the bishops are attacking the pawns and you can get the rooks into the game. And because of control of open files and diagonals, black has good compensation for the pawn. So in the game, he did not play e4, played queen b3. So now he's trying to put some pressure here and also get the queen to a better place. King h8. And now again, same. If e4, then cd4 and rook d8 is coming. So this is one of the main ideas of queen b3. Now we try to block this diagonal. Now we want to push these pawns, and then white's center will be very strong. So black plays f5, getting this square under control and fixing the e3 pawn as a backward pawn. So white opens up before the pawn becomes too weak. And after a series of exchanges, now the f2 is under pin. We are attacking this pawn. Now if c4, we have bd4 ideas. We place bishop c4. Now this is kind of funny. Increases pressure on the pawn. So basically gets out of the pin. Now if we get time, we will do something like that. But he wins the pawn back. So it looks like white has won the pawn back. And without the central pawns, the bishop is generally better than the knight. But white goes for initiative. This is the only move to defend this knight. And he takes the pawn. So again, white ends up becoming a pawn up. And here, black made a mistake. He played queen d3 to attack the king, and then queen c2. And after this, white got some advantage, but he made some blunder later and even lost the game. Black won the game, but white was clearly better. So queen d3 is not the best move. Rook d3. Try to remove the defender. Now, for example, now if you play something like this, you take queen. So this is what ideally should have happened in the game. And then you can take perpetual check. Now let's say for example it goes like this. You give check and it will be a draw. Okay, so this is what ideally should have happened. Okay, fine. So let us end today's session with this. And I hope the question was very interesting enough. And I'm not sure how many of the players found the right idea. That is queen d5. Let me just show it on the screen. So queen d5, ef4, queen c6, fe3. This is the main line. So I don't know how many of the players who played this position, they went into this line. It's very important from black's viewpoint that they play fe3, not try to save the rook. And from white's viewpoint, it is very important he goes for queen d5, queen c6, but not queen a8, but to take f2. Okay? And this way, white retains some advantage, forcing black to play accurately to get equality. Fine. So, thank you very much, everyone. We will end today's session with this. I have to go for taking the Rochester training class in another few minutes. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye, everyone.